Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. They say, Madam Speaker, that public education is the great social leveler, and yet we know that kids can't access the promise of education if they're hungry. And today, millions of kids across our country are going to school without food in their bellies. This is something we can change, Madam Speaker, and this bill before us, Bill C-322, can be a part of that change towards the creation of a nationwide school food program that will provide healthy meals to kids going to school right across Canada. Now, there are many reasons that we should pursue a national school food program. I was looking at a study cited here from the Rockefeller Foundation that showed in the United States the $18.7 billion investment in school meal programs provides a return on investment of $40 billion. And perhaps for some people those kinds of numbers are motivating, but I think there's a much more profound reason that we need to do this. Because access to healthy food for kids is a human right. Because kids deserve to access the promise of education with food in their bellies. And far too many, millions of kids across our country aren't able to do so. That's why we in the NDP have long called for a national school food program. I want to particularly highlight the work of the member for Vancouver Kingsway who tabled Bill, I'm just looking for the number here, Bill C-212 in 2021 towards a national school food program, and also our excellent critic, the member for Winnipeg Centre, who has been working tirelessly on this issue in her role as the critic for children, families, and social development. Madam Speaker, Canada is not doing well when it comes to the provision of school food. Right now, Canada is the only G7 country that lacks a national school food program. Among the OECD countries, we're one of only a few countries that lack such a program, and a 2017 study by UNICEF ranked us 37th out of 41 countries. These are 41 of the richest countries in the world. We're ranked 37th when it comes to the provision of school meals. This is something we need to do much better on. Right now, the situation in Canada is really a patchwork of programs that are held together by NGOs and volunteers and schools, private donors. They're working so hard to ensure that kids can have healthy meals at school. And yet we know that it's not meeting the need that exists in our country despite their tireless efforts. And that's why the federal government has a responsibility, Madam Speaker, to come forward with a fully national school food program that meets the needs of kids. Now, I mentioned the situation in Canada. Every province and territory does have some semblance of funding for school meal programs. Unfortunately, that funding is falling far short, between 3 cents and 94 cents per person per meal. I think anyone in this House who's bought food recently can tell you that that's not nearly enough to ensure that kids are getting nutritious food at school. And right now, this is a particularly pertinent issue because we've seen the cost of food skyrocket. With the profits of the grocery giants going through the roof, more and more Canadians are struggling to put food on the table, and the existing patchwork of school food programs is having a hard time affording the food that they need to provide even the level of school meals that they're currently providing. Not to mention meeting the needs that exist across the country. In my home province of British Columbia, we're very fortunate that the NDP provincial government just recently announced a historic program, Feeding Futures. This is a $214 million school food program over 3 years. It's the largest investment in a school meal program in Canadian history, and it's making a difference right across our province, with school districts now able to increase existing programs and create new programs where none existed. We need the federal government to come to the table as a partner, and this bill in front of us, Bill C-322, can be a contribution in that direction. I'll mention, Madam Speaker, that it's taken a long time to get to this point. Of course, the Liberal Party in 2019 committed to investing in a school food program. They didn't put a dollar value to it. In 2021, we saw a commitment in the Liberal platform that the government would commit $1 billion over 5 years. 2021, that was 2 years ago. Just imagine all the kids across our country that could have been fed in the past 2 years if those dollars had flowed, if that commitment had been made real with a budget commitment. And we are hopeful, Madam Speaker, that Budget 2024 will include these necessary dollars so that the patchwork of programs across the country can get the funding that they need to deliver more meals. Now, this vision for a national school food program, we know that it needs to be universal. It shouldn't just be for kids who aren't getting adequate food at home. It should be for all kids so that we're not stigmatizing those who come from more disadvantaged backgrounds. We know that it needs to be cost shared with the provinces. We know that it should be free or low cost for the kids that participate in these programs. And we know that it needs to support Indigenous food sovereignty and local food production. These are the characteristics, Madam Speaker, that I hope will be reflected in a national school food program that is created under the terms of this bill before us. This can be something that makes our country stronger, Madam Speaker, and when we do that, we're going to be better for it in so many different ways. I really had my eyes opened to the potential of school food programs 2 years ago when I visited Sulawak's community school in Terrace in northwest BC. And I visited Sulawak's with a number of people, with Sam from the Coalition for Healthy School Food, with Margot from Farm to School, and with the principal of Sulawak's. And they showed me the school food program there. It was tremendously impressive. I got to go into the kitchen and watch this lineup of little kids lined up to get homemade soup and fry bread that was made by some really wonderful a volunteer named Janice Sherrick Fowler. She's been volunteering at the school for 12 years. And one of the Indigenous support workers at the school, Colleen Morgan, I know she's fondly known as Grammy Colleen to the kids. And she got up at 7 o'clock that morning to make over 200 pieces of fry bread. And seeing the joy on the children's faces when they came into the school to get this food, it really brought home, Madam Speaker, the potential of these programs to get kids the nutritious food that they deserve so that they can learn in our schools. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't also highlight the work of another tireless volunteer in the Terrace area, and that's Gurjeet Parhar. Gurjeet has been working on local food programs, on food security for so long through the Kalem Community School Society. And the Kalem Community School Society has been delivering a good food box and a food share program in communities all the way from Dease Lake in northern BC and Telegraph Creek all the way down to Bella Coola and over to Haida Gwaii. She's been a tireless proponent of school food programs, and I want to thank her for her incredible work across the Northwest. Madam Speaker, this is an idea whose time has come. It's time for us to move quickly now. There have been far too many delays in getting a national school food program up and running. We need this $1 billion commitment over 5 years to hit the ground, to match the funds that are being brought forward by provinces like my home province of British Columbia. We can improve Canada's standing among peer nations. We can get nutritious, healthy school food to kids right across our country, and we can make our country stronger as a result. We can uphold the human rights of these kids that are going to school hungry. In a country as rich as ours, Madam Speaker, we should do no less. We should make every effort to ensure that our children and children in communities all across this nation have the school food that they deserve and that they need to learn. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Mm-hmm.